Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the PoliticsJOE podcast.
Yes!
Never gets easier saying that.
This guy!
That's right.
Wow!
Was Ollie? Ollie's gone forever.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has been taken down, finally, once and for all, and now we are the captains now.
What took him down?
His opinions on race relations or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gone.
Pro.
Extremely too liberal. He was too liberal for our podcast. Ava Santina, capital J journalist, butcher, extraordinaire. How are you?
Good afternoon, the filth.
Good afternoon, the filth. Addressing someone with the name the
Yeah.
doesn't sound right.
Why not?
I think it's because there's an article in front of it.
I think it sounds like you're in the firm,
Yeah. Hello, the firm.
which is quite hot.
Hello, the
isn't it?
butcher.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about Prime Minister's questions.
We are. Can I tell a quick anecdote before we begin?
Yes.
On Monday night, we went drinking, a few of us, and at the table, there was this English guy who we hadn't met before, who insisted on doing an Irish accent in front of 3 Irish people. And it was the most excruciating thing I've had to sit through. It's still making my skin crawl. And just as a PSA, if you're thinking about doing that, don't do it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
It's not endearing.
You wouldn't do it with any other accent. Maybe Scouse. They like to do it with Scouse, don't they? Some of these weirdos.
I didn't think that, as someone with a non-English accent, people like to do it a lot.
Do they dare
Yeah.
to do it with you?
Yeah, and they're like, "Isn't this? Listen to my Scottish. Listen to my impression of a Scottish person." And you're like, "No, thank you." And then,
This guy did this at one point. He was telling this story. The Irish accents were the Irish people in this whole story were not necessary. They didn't actually need to be in the story. It was like he just wanted.
he just wanted to do the accent.
Yeah, it was a story about Sean Connery, and so it was nothing to do with
Was it Sean Connery good?
Sean Connery was good.
Okay, well, that's one thing then.
And okay, just to give you a little flavour of what he did, like when he said, again, not needed in the story, he was talking about when they ordered a pint, and he literally did this like point, and I was like, oh my god.
That's quite extraordinary. I think that's a good PSA.
Yeah, you'd wake up with the fear, and you should.
Oh, if you're listening, Mr. Englishman,
Don't do that.
never again. Shall we do some PMQs?
Yeah.
First question.
You have to give credit to the Rwandan government. They saw this Prime Minister coming a mile off. You can only imagine their delight, their sheer disbelief, when having already banked £140 million of British taxpayer money without housing a single asylum seeker, the Prime Minister appears again with another offer they can't refuse. A gimmick that will send taxpayers' money to Rwanda, refugees from Rwanda to Britain, and won't stop the boats. There was mention of Margaret Thatcher earlier. How, Madam Deputy Speaker,
There's understandable excitement about the mention of May, but the House must listen to the Leader of the Opposition, Sir Keir Starmer.
party go from up yours to laws to take our money, Kigami.
Mr. Speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker, when it comes to this European thing and Margaret Thatcher, this is the week that the Shadow Foreign Secretary, I think, didn't rule out rejoining the European Union. He can role-play Margaret Thatcher all he wants, but when it comes to Europe, his answer's the same. Yes, yes, yes!
So this was the theme of Keir Starmer on Sunak, was criticising off the back of James Cleverly signing the treaty with Rwanda to kind of surmount the obstacles thrown up by the Supreme Court saying you can't do that. They're saying, no, they promised they'll be fine. And then the government seems to think that that makes it, that undoes all the obstacles to the Rwanda plan. What were your thoughts on this interaction?
Well, it was a good thing to go off But it's also an interesting thing to go off because I don't think Labour have fully decided what they're going to do about the Rwanda plan. If it hypothetically were to get past Parliament, this new treaty, and MPs voted on it, or and it was to move forward, we'll tackle the Supreme Court side of this in a second. But if it were hypothetically to get into action, would Labour repeal it in their first term? Like we've never heard that from Keir Starmer that he would repeal the Rwanda programme, and it puts Labour then in a tricky position because they're already deemed the pro-immigration party by the electorate, and Starmer is vehemently rallying against that, right? Against that assumption about them. So if he then makes an announcement that he'll repeal the Rwanda programme, will that make them look like they are open borders people?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because what he's saying is actually like his objections to it in this instance are like that it's not working.
Yeah.
As in we're just giving Rwanda millions of pounds and there isn't yet anyone being deported there. It seems that he mainly objects to it on it's an ineffective plan, not that the plan is in itself bad or immoral. And I think, again, pro-immigration people or people on the left will be quite angry that he's not making the pro-immigration argument about this, that this is cruel and this is unusual.
For sure.
And
it's not even really about it. It's not actually an argument about immigration.
No,
because
it's about one policy, isn't it?
Yeah, because there's a lot of things being conflated at the moment. So people are upset about the nearly 750,000 people that immigrated net to the UK over the last year, and some factions are upset about that. Won't get into those arguments at the moment. The argument that we're having here is about small boat crossings, right? So just as a little insider tip here, 750,000 people didn't travel on small boats to the United Kingdom. That's not how it worked.
Fleet.
And there's also, so this is about putting up a deterrent to stop, apparently, the people smugglers bringing asylum seekers across the channel. Now, if Starmer was perhaps more bold and wanted to be more forthright with his immigration policy, he would make that distinction. But it almost seems like he's deliberately obfuscating or being a bit confusing around the whole argument because they haven't fully decided what Labour's policy is going to be going forward.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. It's also quite, I thought the image of Kagame, the Rwandan leader, making being like, he cannot believe his luck. He's not had to do a single thing. And we're giving him millions and millions. It's really like wallet inspector energy for Rwanda.
That? Wallet inspector. Oh.
So when...
That's funny.
The idea is, let me inspect your wallet. You take all their cash. They inspect... oh, good news, you passed. Or like, I've got a bridge to sell you, that kind of thing.
That's great.
He's the ultimate wheeler-dealer in international relations. Because they've not had to do anything yet.
Yes. So what they did with this treaty, right? So James Cleverly goes over to Kigali and he signs this fantastic treaty that essentially says Rwanda is a safe place for asylum seekers. Now, it's so safe, Ed, that within this original £140 million agreement, there is a contingency which means Rwandan asylum seekers will be allowed to come to the UK. Now, we're talking in broad strokes here. Do you think that a country that has to send out asylum seekers is a safe place to send asylum seekers? Just on the face of it?
I think no, is my answer.
So when he brings back this treaty, so he's brought this back, he's got a wonderful piece of paper from Kigali that says Rwanda is incredibly, incredibly safe, takes that to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, arguably, will make the same judgment they made the last time, which is, no, it's not. I don't care that you've got a note from your mum.
Yeah.
This is, we've made our decision.
Your mum Rwanda.
Yeah. They tried to get around this as well because they weren't quite quick enough the last time. So what they wanted to do was have a UK representative over there at all times who would basically be like the monitor, the hall monitor, to check that Rwanda were upholding their human rights practices. And they reckon that if they'd had that in the case before it went to the Supreme Court just this last time, then it would have been smooth sailing and it would have gotten through. But again, if somewhere is so safe, why do you need to send someone to check
to make
it's safe?
Sure. Yeah, it's ultimate marking your own homework, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because everyone's got a vested interest. Well, the two parties, assuming this does go ahead, both Rwanda, the Rwandan government and the UK government, have a vested interest in assuring everybody that there are no human rights violations.
Mm-hmm.
And who's to say that the government appointed, unless the monitor is entirely independent, the hall monitor, that's the official title as well, they'll call it a hall monitor, everyone involved has a vested interest in covering up any human rights abuses as well, which leaves people incredibly vulnerable.
But you would make an argument, so say for example, you appoint this person to go over and be the independent adjudicator. He's going to make sure, she's going to make sure, the hall monitor, that everything is going above board and smooth. Do you not think that there might be some chats behind closed doors, which is like, listen, pal, we spent £140 million on this, so if you say one fucking thing, I'm going to have a problem with it.
Jeremy Hunt holding him up by his neck.
Yeah, and he's out there in Rwanda being like, it's so fine. It's so fine.
Living in a compound. Like a Truman Show-esque.
Yeah.
Everyone in Rwanda is so friendly. This is so beautiful.
There was actually a couple, we didn't really get into it, but there was a couple of ministers last week who were, so this whole big meeting that was scheduled with Mitsotakis from Greece.
Yes.
There was this brief moment where ministers were trying to pretend that Greece and Germany also were interested in a similar scheme to the Rwanda program and were trying to get involved in it. And then when those ministers were pressed even slightly, so Germany are going to ship people to Rwanda, and they had to be like, no.
One of them said at a function, that's an interesting plan. Oh, you want to do it?
Yeah.
You want to get involved?
So there was some discussion that perhaps he would have talked about migration with Greece, because obviously a lot of asylum seekers travel through Greece, or travel. A lot of them can be found on Kos and those sort of islands when we're traveling through from Libya, and then they come onwards to more Western Europe. So there was thought there would be a discussion and perhaps even a pact there about what are we going to do about this? Greece, you'll take them, because listen, my election figures, not good. Not good. You
didn't help me out.
Look after them for a year, then we're fine.
Then you do it. I'm not sure that's terribly likely.
Because there'll be no more war and...
or climate change.
No. Next year, it's all good. It's
They've
fine.
actually fixed it.
Yeah.
COP28, glorious success. They've stopped climate change, everybody.
Yeah.
Which I am pro. That.
Pro
stopping climate change.
Oh, not pro climate change.
No.
Right.
You are. That's why we don't get on.
Naturally. There was, in this interview I just did with Clive Lewis, who was in here.
Oh, yeah, that's a great interview.
Well, thank you. I said hardly anything. That's why it was good.
No.
He was talking about empire and how the attacks on places like the Caribbean have been threefold, because first, slavery, second, we invited them here, and then we did Windrush, and, they were Windrush. We then were like, you're not British citizens, you've got to go back. Right, nice, thank you very much. The third thing is climate change. So we've basically enjoyed the spoils of, heating the planet up. And then the countries that are going to be most affected, or the first affected, are countries that we were taking slaves from.
Jesus Christ.
So, we're not coming out of this well.
Let me shock you.
Yeah.
Britain's behaviour with developing countries, it's not great.
No.
Historically or currently.
While we're on that as well, so Clive gave these incredibly long, nuanced answers and reasons or explanations of how we'd go about paying reparations. And he didn't say that specific governments were responsible from it. And he actually said, but he gave this whole explanation of why, there are people in parts of the country who are on the breadline here and we're not doing fantastically well. And those people's taxes shouldn't have anything to do with this. He was saying that the big companies and conglomerates who have profited out of empire should bear the responsibility of it. Fantastic answer. Put this video up on YouTube and the first comments were like, I don't see why I should have to pay. No one said that.
I think that's, watch the full video.
Yeah.
Don't just read the headline. That's good advice for consuming all journalism.
There is that, isn't there? Twitter tried to get us to do that. Do you remember when it was like, oh, before you retweet this, do you want to read the article?
No.
And then you'd get all those snobby journalists being like, oh, I wrote the article. Shut up.
Yes, indeed. Another question?
Yeah.
Leader of the Scottish Nationalists, Stephen Flynn.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Is the Prime Minister worried that he is projected to be the first Conservative Party leader to lose a general election to a fellow Thatcherite?
We really must hear the Prime Minister, and we've got a lot of questions to get through. It's not the Prime Minister's opponents who are giving him trouble. Prime Minister.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I say to the honourable gentleman, Margaret Thatcher's view was cut inflation, then cut taxes, and then win an election, and that's very much my plan.
Of course, Madam Deputy Speaker, it's not just in relation to Margaret Thatcher where the Tory and Labour leader appear to agree. The same is true of the government's latest migration policies. Now, for those of us on these benches, we aren't afraid to say that we believe migration is a good thing. It enriches our communities, it enriches our economy, it enriches our universities, our schools, our health service and, of course, our care sector. So in that regard, can I ask the Prime Minister, why does he think it is acceptable to ask people to come to these shores to care for our family members, whilst we show complete disregard for theirs? What has become of this place?
That was a good PMQs for Stephen Flynn, I would say. Absolute. He got both Starmer and Sunak in his line with about how it would feel to lose to a Thatcherite as a Conservative Prime Minister. I thought it was very funny. But I think this was also, once again, Stephen Flynn or the SNP making the case that I think a lot of people on the left would like to see Starmer make, basically just saying, I think migration is a good thing, here's why.
Yeah.
Which is becoming more and more uncommon in mainstream politics.
Well, it's also the sort of the moral argument for not demonising people who have migrated here previously, right? Because whenever this conversation comes up, the conversation tends to be, well, what are they contributing anyway? And let's be realistic here. Most of the people that we know and interact with, myself included, I don't know, were you always from Scotland?
I've got Irish heritage.
Right, okay. You know, a first, second, third generation immigrant. It's like, I'm going to shock you here, guys. Not everyone has been here forever.
Yeah.
Everyone has moved. But yeah, the conversation always turns to, well, how much are they contributing anyway? And how can I other them during this particular political debacle? And actually, it's sort of like, it's pretty distasteful.
No, it's extremely distasteful. And Flynn has managed to paint himself as liberal pro-immigration and not a Thatcherite, which I think will do quite well in Scotland. I think those are two positive things to a Scottish electorate.
Well, that's strange to me because I thought they would have loved Thatcher.
No, actually, believe it or not, there is a massive... They're going to rename Edinburgh Thatcherborough.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, then at least the Americans might be able to pronounce it then. Oh, no, it's
the bra that they
struggle with.
The Eden thing is fine.
What about Ed and Thatch?
That's good. Thatch go.
Thatch go. That's very nice. Yeah. Close all of the shops in Edinburgh.
Close all of the pizza bra.
That's no, because we've got the bra problem again, haven't we?
Oh shit, yeah.
Edin pits no more.
Mining is immoral.
Yeah.
And you should be...
Edin, don't watch Billy Elliot.
Ed and Billy Elliot sucks.
Yeah. That's good.
Fort William Elliot sucks.
Should we call Stephen now and let him know?
We've got him a policy.
Should we get him on speaker?
Stephen. Well, in actuality, I think Douglas Ross would be much more open to
you
it.
love Douglas Ross.
Why?
Or as they call him, Douglas Margaret Ross.
We've had so many goes at a good pun, and not one of them.
Not one of them has landed.
No,
Maybe we should close them.
like the.
You like the
punt.
Oh, that's shit, isn't it?
Yeah, that was bad. But we could, if anyone has any better ideas for a Thatcher Scotland pun, then let us know.
Yeah. Anyway, so another we haven't really gotten into it yet, but one thing I've really enjoyed over the past couple of days is the Home Office admitting that you need to earn £38,700 to live well in the United Kingdom.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is significantly more than the median wage.
Absolutely.
So, oh, babe, so you agree? Wages are too low.
What's the Mean Girls thing? It's like,
Oh, so you agree?
so you agree you're pretty?
Yeah.
I think,
I
yeah.
think you're really pretty.
It's quite revealed. We're so anti-migration, we're going to show our arse about the cost of living.
Yeah, that's exactly that. You cannot afford to have a family here if you are on our minimum wage.
No one can.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
Oh, sorry.
Oh! No! Oh my God! I've just been reading this. I've finally got to the end of this report.
Yeah.
Things are really bad.
Yeah. 34% poverty in some constituencies.
Oh.
Alex really was serving Cuntingham. That's it.
That was good.
Right, thank you.
But
yeah, that's actually. That was the other thing. So companies were able to pay workers 20% less than the going rate for jobs if they were on a shortage occupation list. So I actually need the shortage occupation list to check this. But hypothetically, say if you were inviting someone to come over here to be a nurse, and perhaps that starting salary was £27,000, that would mean that you'd be allowed to bring them in here for what, £24,000?
something like that.
£24,000. You're going to bring a nurse from another country where they are probably earning significantly more and try to entice them to work in our NHS, which is already a pretty dismal in some cases, place to work, or difficult place to work is probably a better way of phrasing that, for that amount of money.
But think about like the brain drain, like doctors going to Australia, where they're paid so much more and the work-life balance is like incredible.
Yeah.
So they're learning the wrong lessons again.
But we've got to be careful with the Australian argument, because this really lends itself to Labour's plan, which is to partly privatise parts of the NHS, right? So yeah, where streeting's big, we'll clear the backlog by getting operations done in private hospitals. All the PFIs, they love all that.
And sending everyone to Bondi Beach.
But what I mean is Australia is a bad model for that. Didn't Wes Streeting just get back from New Zealand? I think he might have gone to New Zealand to check out how their healthcare system works.
Oh, really?
And he came back being like very nice, and it's partly privatised.
Yeah, but then I suppose there's not many fully public models to learn from, I guess.
Well, why don't we be the trendsetter?
I agree with you, but I think if you're looking for inspiration, like for inspiration, you'd be quite hard done by.
But that's why we were world leading at one point.
And
that's why it was such a fantastic system. Another thing that I wanted to pick up on this immigration new legislation, or new points, not point system anymore, is the surcharge to use the NHS, which is going up significantly. How do you police that? How do you police that someone's got to pay the NHS surcharge? Because presumably if me or you walked into, I don't know, Guy's and St Thomas's later this afternoon, hopefully not, God, touch wood.
Touch wood.
No one's going to ask us to pay anything. So, I mean, how does this work? Is it an honest system? Is it that you turn up, you say, oh, I'm getting treatment today, by the way, I need to pay this NHS surcharge?
I've not had to use it.
Or prove that you have paid it, because you have to pay it, don't you, annually. Do you take your piece of paper to say, here it is, I've paid for it? Because presumably, if they ask us for one, we're not going to have that piece of paper because we don't pay it.
Yes. I wonder if it's I've not had to use NHS beyond a GP, thankfully, for a really long time, but I imagine...
Until now.
it was just broken my nose. Would you have to declare I'm not a British citizen on the form or something like that?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. Is it an honest system? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Honesty box. What are those things called?
Yeah. You know when you're in the countryside and there's eggs.
Eggs.
On a farm, in an honesty box, eggs. Take one, leave one. That freaks me
out so much, by the way.
What honesty boxes are eggs?
Eggs.
Just in general.
Because of Edwina Curry.
Right.
But I or whatever, and that was her fault when she was health
Because
minister.
they're very quite long expiry dates.
Yeah, but I don't trust that now because
No,
of her.
because of Edwina Curry.
Yeah. So I will like buy a box of eggs and then eat like 6 eggs in like 12 hours
That's absolutely insane.
because I'm like,
That's,
I'm gonna go
actually,
off.
that's actually quite mean.
Yeah.
Do you know who Sam Sulek is?
Who's that?
He is this like roided out TikToker. He's like 22 and built like 3 The Rocks. And he like
3 The Rocks.
yeah, like that's how like massive he is. Like he's like
Oh, he is the size of 3 rocks.
3 Dwayne Johnsons.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So that's something he would eat is my point. But basically he's just like pushing himself
Well,
to extremes, and
Look,
I think he will
Curry,
die
the
very
fear
early.
spread everywhere, didn't it? So he's worried about it as well.
Sam Sulek is
Yeah.
extremely worried, thanks to Edwina Curry.
But then I guess the offshot was that he got really big because Edwina Curry put the fear of God into him about eggs.
Thank God. New clip.
Yeah.
Sarah Champion.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The government is set to close the household support scheme in March, cutting off crucial free meals for 12,000 Rotherham's children in the lowest income families. With the government's cost of living crisis in full swing and energy prices about to increase again, how does the Prime Minister justify taking food from the mouths of my poorest children?
Madam Deputy Speaker, what we are doing is ensuring that no child should grow up in poverty, and that's why not only this year we've provided considerable cost of living support worth over £3,000 to a typical household, more support this winter for pensioners, a record increase in the national living wage, and a full indexation and uplifting of welfare for the next financial year. But when it comes to children and food, Madam Deputy Speaker, not only do we fund the free school meals for almost 2 million children, we also introduced the Holiday Activity and Food Programme, which provides not just food but enriching activities to deprived children up and down the entire country, including in her local authority.
Right, so, okay, the reason I thought this was interesting, so she's talking about how in her constituency there's been crucial free meals have been given to 12,000 of Rotherham's children in the lowest income families. The Prime Minister is about to close the household support scheme in March, or there hasn't been any. The way that these schemes work is that you vote on it and it will last for a certain amount of time, and then you'll have to bring in new legislation to keep it rolling, right? That was how the free school meals program worked. So when Marcus Rashford did the big campaign for free school meals,
Yes.
it wasn't that the government had cut off the free school meals, it's just that they hadn't renewed the program, right? So he hasn't renewed this program. But I thought this was interesting because I was thinking about what James cleverly said the other week when Alex Cunningham was raising the point that 34% of children in his constituency are considered to be in poverty. And whether he said shithole or shit MP, whatever, that's irrelevant right now. It was the disdain that he showed for that statistic. And it's sort of like, how can you know or be aware of a program that is having to feed 12,000 children because they physically can't eat otherwise, and you're not all over it?
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's again, I think they're going to make a massive misstep like they did with Rashford, is that people, even probably the most evil person in this country, can extend their empathy to children and feeding them and making sure they don't die of starvation.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe the base level. We can hope that the safety net in this country that the nanny state in this country can achieve.
Yeah. Because you've also got this, like, now I'm going to conflate 2 really big ideas right now.
Can't wait.
But you've got this resurgence of national conservatism, right, in
Yep.
the Tory party, and you've got the pro-lifers who are coming out. Where are the pro-lifers now that the children who are here are hungry,
No.
right?
The thing about the pro-lifers is, it speaks to what I said last time, they love the bump, they don't love the woman.
Right.
They don't really, the child beyond, once it goes out uterus, not their problem anymore. They have to sustain that child, they have to sustain the bump for 9 months, and then
Yeah.
job done.
Not a child until it's born.
Yes, I agree with that. But
Yeah.
that's the argument they would make.
That's why you can like it.
Fuck off.
Before it's born.
But there's the classic trope like pro-life stuff is that they want to make sure it can survive the first 9 months of conception.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's not really their It's not their problem. I think they would say.
We should do more on abortion. I always find that totally fascinating because it's always some wild Catholic who says something like, God knew you in the womb before you knew yourself or whatever. And it's like, yeah, Jesus also did like 500 loaves of bread. Like, I'm a Catholic. I know that the Bible is really a reference point, okay? I don't want to hurt you, Judith, but I don't actually think that there were 5,000 fish.
I think also as well, I'm going to get, just to be a wee bit west of Scotland, it's not just Catholics who do it. There are like militant offshoots of the Church of Scotland who picket abortion clinics throughout the country.
Yeah, well, you've picketed many, haven't you?
Not even a bit true. No. No, I haven't. Next clip.
Speaker, yesterday 13 men died by suicide. Today, 88 men will die of heart disease. Tomorrow, and every day, 90,000 men will wake up in prison. And we have 2.2 million boys living today at home with no dad. We thankfully have an excellent Cabinet Minister for Women. We have an excellent Minister for Women. So will the Prime Minister meet with me to discuss the merits of a Minister for Men and Boys? Because, as Warren Farrell states, when one sex loses, both sex lose.
Yeah. Can I say to my honourable friend that he should be commended for his tireless campaigning on this issue. He's particularly right to focus on suicide, and that's why I'm grateful for his engagement with the suicide prevention strategy, which sets out the actions that we will take to reduce suicides in the coming years. But it's also a thanks partly into his campaigning that on International Men's Day, we announced that we're appointing the first men's health ambassador and launching a men's health task force, and I look forward to continued collaboration with him so that we can represent his concerns adequately.
So, that was Nick Fletcher there making a call for a Minister for Men to be appointed. This is something that comes up a lot when people talk about men's mental health and stuff like that. Why isn't there a specific minister representing the issue?
Well, before you object to it, let's just talk about how Nick Fletcher has been campaigning for this.
Yes.
For many years, and actually he has he's led a very compelling campaign, which is there are skyrocketing figures for male suicide, and it's not paid attention to. That also feeds in to the skyrocketing mental health figures for children. Millions of children are waiting for prescriptions at the moment. You also have women who are waiting treatment. You know, millions of people. We are in a chronic mental health crisis. This is probably the most compelling argument for a minister for men. And if it was specifically to target that issue, the issue of male loneliness, the issue of, male depression, male suicide, it would be interesting. But you're going to tell me it's not.
So, I'm not going to... No, I think it's... My whole kind of objection to this is I don't think there needs to be a minister for men. I think all the things he talks about are... So 30 men today... Yesterday, 30 men died by suicide. Today, 88 men will die of heart disease. That exists within the brief of the health minister. There's 90,000 men will wake up in prison. That's justice. All these things are already covered. And I think something like...
Home, I think it would be, actually.
Excuse me. Okay, home.
Because home would deal with the sentencing, wouldn't it?
Yes. But there's already someone doing it, is my point.
I appreciate your point. I just didn't want any naysayers nitpicking you.
But I think with such an epidemic of men's mental health, what actually would help is massive societal overhaul. We would need better jobs, better education system, better health system, a sense of community back. And if we just appoint a minister for men, who they're not going to strip the powers of, they're not just going to say to the health minister, oh, you're only responsible for women and non-binary people. That, like, John's got men. It's so easy, it'd be so easy to, for every time this is brought up, the issue of men's issues, the government can just say, oh, don't worry, the Minister for Men is on it. And it's instead of actually solving it, it's a way to just plaster over it, saying, oh, we are doing something. So unless they give this person, probably make this person the most powerful politician or minister in the country, I actually don't think it would achieve very much.
I think your plaster over comment is really interesting because it's an oversimplification of the issue, isn't it? It's sort of like men are dying, we need a minister for them. It's a much broader picture, right? So you're right. So wage stagnation is huge, right? Is the Minister of Men going to deal with that? The level of underemployment that we have in this country, the fact that 20 years ago you could work a minimum wage job and you could go on holiday in the summer. You cannot do that at the moment.
As well.
There are so many factors that are contributing to the decline in people's mental health or people's general well-being. That's probably the better way of saying it, isn't it? Because you can't, because mental illness isn't always directly correlated to your surroundings.
Also,
in some cases, it is.
Like it's complicated, it's nuanced, and I think that's what this doesn't reckon with. It's also as well, I think, in general, mental health campaigning in this country it doesn't want to reckon with the extremely ugly bits. It doesn't want to reckon. It wants to say it's okay to talk to a mate, and that's where it stops. That's what that's where the conversation is. It's have a chat with your friends about your feelings. But what if,
mate?
So if I turn to you, I open up to you, and I describe suicidal ideation, like psychosis, extreme mental health issues. Genuinely, what are you equipped to do beyond refer me to say, oh, you should probably talk to someone more?
And the NHS is very good at dealing with crisis. It's very good at dealing with broken legs, and, fractured skulls, and people who are experiencing extreme suicidal thoughts. The problem is if you're not in a position where you're going to take your own life in the next couple of days.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
If you are doing okay but not well, that's when you get put onto an extremely long waiting list, or you have to try and fight for an appointment with your GP. That's when you're in kind of purgatory of mental health help, right?
That's what I think. I think this whole thing for me is informed by Ollie and I went up to Scotland 2 years ago, and we made a video about deaths of despair in Scotland. I think we talked about it on the podcast before, but in a conversation with a man called Ricky Fraser, whose son had died by suicide 3 weeks previously, he said, "I hate all this. Talk to a mate, shite. What do you do if nothing can come out? What do you do if that?" I think it's which I think is at the heart of this, as it's so. I think this is such a superficial measure in an attempt to tackle such a crisis, such a volume. There is a mental health epidemic in this country amongst men, and men do have really serious gender-specific issues. I just don't think this would have any effect.
It's also if you got the Minister for Men, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think the government are going to suddenly take mental health services seriously? They're going to suddenly
or give them any money.
Exactly. That's what I mean. They're going to pour. But it would cost billions.
Yeah.
And they don't do it. And that money should be spent. I'm not like...
Yeah, no, I agree. Of course it should.
We've argued many times that there should be a minister specific to mental health in this country that is actually,
I also disagree with that.
Something.
For the same reason. We had the conversation before.
Oh, I didn't know that. Why do you disagree with that?
Because I think it's within the provision of the health ministry.
I don't. I think it's so serious that I don't think that it can be tackled within the broad church of the health department. I think we're on the cusp of something, because if you're even looking at it from a purely small c conservative Tory government approach, you're concerned about the economy. Productivity is severely impacted by mental health, right? I just read actually a couple of weeks ago that there was it was a couple of 100% rise in people taking time off work because of their mental health issues. That is something that feeds directly into productivity. So you could make quite a good Tory argument for pouring money into mental health services because you get that money back in the economy, right? Because they're going to work. But even like on a more nanny state argument, when we're Sunak's talking about the smoking ban, or I even had a debate earlier on Channel 5 about whether people who were morbidly obese should pay for their own NHS treatment, which I don't agree with at all. you could. Oh, wait, where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. Those are two huge cost drains on the economy and on the NHS, right? Smoking and obesity. If you're going to try and recoup money by eradicating both of those things, then you should also be looking at mental health.
Yeah, but I think my worry about it again is it'd be a purely, it's all fart no poo. It's as in we have this.
Excuse me.
as we have we have a minister for mental health. Isn't that great? They're not given any power. If they're given the powers and provision and the resources to deal with it, yes, sick. They could be the new Bevan, but like they won't be. I think, and I think it's just an easy cop out for governments to say, "Oh, look, we're doing it." It's like when Dr. Alex was appointed the mental health ambassador, something.
Czar.
Yeah,
it was
the Tsar.
Yeah,
he was given land.
I specifically remember because it pissed me off so much.
He was given land in Siberia as well, but I think it's just appointing a person as it's their job is such a cop out. If that person isn't given actual power and responsibility, then it's
well,
shite.
yeah. I've had several conversations with a SPAD at the Department for Health because they've wanted us to come and cover some of the new, like a couple of things that they've been opening, like mental health services or whatever. When you actually delve into what they've done, it doesn't touch the sides. And I've had the same conversation with them every time, which is like, I will come and have a look at it, but I'm not doing you a puff PR piece on it. Like, I'll tell you what the actual story about if I think it is adequate. But also, if you are going to suddenly free up £1 billion and do something quite serious, all over it. Let's do it. Let's go. Yeah. You know? And
I'll shake your freaking men's minister's hand.
I will.
Maybe I'll be it.
Yeah. Maybe I will.
Maybe I'll join the Conservative government.
Got an opening for a czar around here?
We're the czar and czarina of mental health.
Yeah.
For this. Should we call it there?
Yeah. Also, we'll have that Jeff Norcott interview.
Yes.
Come out. Yeah.
You did
and we do talk about Nick Fletcher, the Minister for Men. We recorded it a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That should come out.
I look forward to listening.
Thank you.
Shouting at my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Eva. We are recording our 100th episode tomorrow, and we are trying to get some questions to answer from the audience. So you can submit them on, if you leave a comment on, probably not this podcast, but the most recent podcast.
Well, the Reddit's the best place to put it.
Reddit is the best place to put it, or on Spotify, or DM us on Twitter.
Someone who's done a really good 3-paragraph Starmer question.
Yeah, it's
that
detailed.
I really like.
Yeah.
Go and find that person.
That's the caliber. That is the A-star caliber of questions.
They are up there.
Yeah.
They are inside Ed. They are so high up. What did you mean by that?
I'm only 5'8", so that's like not that high either.
Oh.
Yeah, height reveal on pod.
Well, okay.
Yeah, Ava's 4'2".
Yeah.
So that's okay. Cool.
What?
We'll leave it there. Thank you everyone for listening.
Bye.
Bye.